Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Gamer, here to give you another one of my movie reviews. This time I'm just giving you my initial thoughts after having just come back from the theater from seeing the film Free Guy. Now, this movie stars Ryan Reynolds and was directed by, I believe, Shaun Levy. And just to kind of sum up the overall premise of this film, it pretty much revolves around Ryan Reynolds' character named Guy, who is an NPC in this sandbox game, I'm guessing, online. And after kind of doing a constant cycle of his life, he has one moment where he kind of decides to do things differently, and then when he gets a pair of some special sunglasses that belong to players, he then sees the world as it really is, and then kind of goes out of his way to kind of be different and change how he lives his life and be the good guy in this virtual world. Now, that's really all I want to say as of right now, because I'm really conflicted about this film, because on the surface, this seemed like a really fun movie, and I really wanted to like this film, but unfortunately, I found myself kind of disappointed. Now, I'm going to say this. I think that there's definitely an audience that will enjoy this film more than me. Or maybe I'm just thinking too much about it, having literally just come through the door after leaving the theater. But by the end, this ended up being a film that I don't want to see a second time, and am a little bit upset that I went to the theaters. I think I would have felt better if I'd seen this at home. Now, what I like now, I'll go for what I like about this film. This is a very well made film. Visually, it looks great. I think all the characters, I think what they were trying to do with their performances is okay. There were a number of references that were spread throughout. So if you play a lot of video games, I think you're gonna like, you'll be able to point things out. Where I think this movie really kind of went off a cliff for me is its portrayal of gamers. Now, I believe with all of these references, with the story that they're trying to tell, I'm assuming this movie was for gamers. And the story around Ryan Reynolds' character is good. The idea that an NPC kind of develops an AI and then wants to be different than what he was programmed to be, that in itself is a very interesting concept. It's just elements around the story that just don't work. I mean, this movie really portrays gamers and streamers in a very negative way, to the point where, I can't believe I'm saying this, I was generally getting angry. I mean, there are stereotypes that aren't even legitimately funny. It's just, as someone who has spent 20 years and played hundreds of games and has spent thousands of hours, I think I could say I'm a pretty damn good expert in understanding just how elements of the gaming community actually operate. And I can say that this film does not get it at all. I mean, there are stereotypes in here that I didn't even really know were a thing. I mean, there's a scene in this film, to go into a little bit of spoilers, where they literally have some 20-year-old virgin living in his mom's basement playing video games streaming. I'm like, is that how they think gamers are? I cannot believe this is still a thing. I mean, do you guys remember the movie Grandma's Boy, and how it kind of portrayed people who work game developers? Well, that was in 2006. It's been 15 years, and I'm kind of furious that there are people out there that still think gamers in a negative way, and then portraying gamers as just people who just go online, just do all this random chaos killing NPCs. I don't do that. I don't know anyone else that does that. It's kind of frustrating, and it made it at times very difficult just to focus on the story itself. Now, the story itself was fairly basic, and you've seen elements of it done better in other films. But just how much of a negative way it portrays gamers, it was just something I had a hard time getting over, and it's like that throughout the whole film. There are people who are acting like they're not even real people. I know people in the gaming industry don't really act like that. It's like someone had an idea of how gamers and game developers act, and then just portrayed them as cartoon characters. And I'm like, did anyone like ask anybody? And this game, and it's not like they didn't ask anybody, because they had plenty of cameos from like popular Twitch and YouTube streamers. So which at times got a little bit distracting, because I don't watch any of these people at all. So there were just elements that were upsetting me. There were elements that were distracting. There were some cameos that I know for a fact that if this actually happened in a real game, no one would have the reaction that they had. To the point where Ryan Reynolds is kind of just, his story, his character progression, his development is just getting buried in all of this negativity, to the point where I was just not having a good time. I mean, this movie was not funny to me at all. I think I might have had one chuckle, and no one in my theater was laughing at all. I think I was in a theater of like maybe 4 people, maybe because of the new COVID restraint is keeping people away from the theaters. Maybe that's why it felt so big. So maybe if I had seen this with a better crowd, I'd feel better about it. I mean, it's the kind of film that I think if I wasn't a gamer and I didn't understand how certain elements actually work, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. But no, I can say I did not really have a very fun time seeing this film, and that's disappointing, because I really, just from the concept, wanted to have a fun time. And though there were a few highlights here and there, there's just so much about it that upset me, to the point where I'm not going to say I wanted to walk out, but I just was not happy by the time the credits started rolling. Now, maybe this is just me. I think maybe I'm thinking too much about it, because maybe this is the type of film that's like a turn your brain off and just have fun. But I wasn't really sure if this was trying to be like a straight up comedy or like a romantic comedy. It's just like everything in the game world was okay, but it was like every time we went out into the real world, that was when things started happening that I didn't like, and we just keep jumping back and forth so often that I'm just trying to focus on things that were happening with Guy, and all this other stuff I just don't care about. And yeah, I can openly say I at the end, just, this is kind of like a movie I want to forget. Now again, this is just me. I think that maybe some of you out there that want to go see this, if you want to go see this, go ahead. But this is not a film that I can say I, at the end, enjoyed seeing. So, wow, I'm really disappointed. If I had to give Free Guy a rating, I'm just going to give it a C-, because I like Ryan Reynolds so much, and he is like the best thing in this film, but there's just so many things that are happening in this film that are holding it down, and I do not want to see this again, ever. Hopefully, maybe another movie. I just hope his next film is better. Like, I just hope. So, those are my thoughts on Free Guy. I'm sorry if I seem kind of agitated and upset by this film, but that's how this film made me feel, and I'm still kind of angry about it. But maybe, hopefully, you guys will have a much better time. So, again, if you did happen to enjoy this little review of mine, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to keep track of me and all my future videos. And if you did happen to enjoy this film, please tell me why in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.